Freedom Scientific, a Vispero brand.
An introduction to Windows 11 and JAWS.
All right, thanks, Rachel. I am going to start out by talking a little bit about the desktop. Now, from a JAWS perspective here, there are a lot of things that are going to be the same. So you're going to navigate the desktop the way you always have. And for those of you who are able to see the screen here, my Windows 11 is going to look different than what yours will because I am actually running Windows 11 in a virtual machine. So I just wanted to make you aware of why mine looks different and just to let you know that yours won't look like that. So I'm here on the desktop. Now you can actually go to the desktop in a couple different ways, which if you are a Windows 10 user, you're already probably familiar with, pressing Windows M or Windows D. So I'm going to demonstrate that. I'm going to go over here
JAWS Home Manual
to the JAWS window and I'll press Windows D.
Windows D, folder view list view, not selected recycle bin.
Now, a couple of things here. If you press Windows M, that minimizes all of your apps and takes you to the desktop. If you press Windows D, you go to the desktop, but if you press it again,
Windows D, JAWS Home Manual,
it takes you back to the app that you were previously in. And that is not something that's new. That's just something I wanted to point out here. But let's go back to the desktop with Windows D.
Windows D, folder view list view, not selected recycle bin.
So you navigate the desktop the way that you always have with your arrow keys. I can press down arrow key.
Bash, 4 of 8. Download Visual Studio Code, 5 of 8.
Or I can press up arrow.
Bash, 4 of 8.
So I'm going to press the tab key now and we're going to explore this area and you're going to hear some things that are different. And Rachel's going to be talking about the taskbar area later on, so she'll be covering some of the differences that you'll see and how you can customize those. But right now I just want to tab through this area and show you what we have.
Taskbar, start button not checked.
So it said taskbar and the first thing we have here is the start button. That is for your start menu. So I'll tab again.
Search button not checked.
So here we have a search button and it says not checked. We could press the space bar on these to activate them, just like you are used to doing in Windows 10.
Task view button not checked.
We have task view.
Widgets button not checked.
And this is a new feature. We're not going to be discussing this one today, but we have widgets. And then if we tab again,
chat button not checked.
There's a chat feature and Rachel will demonstrate this later on, but you can determine whether or not you want those to appear here in the taskbar area. But I can press tab.
File Explorer button.
So there's a button for your File Explorer, but you can still use all the hotkeys that you're used to as well.
Notification chevron button.
And then we have this overflow area, which again, Rachel will be discussing here in just a bit.
Folder view list view, bash, 4 of 8.
And we're back to the desktop where we have all the icons. So from a JAWS perspective here, you're just going to use the same keyboard command you're used to. You can use first letter navigation.
J, JAWS 2022, 3 of 8.
And you can navigate right to a specific icon or specific application shortcut here on your desktop. Now let's move on to the start menu. There are some differences, a few that I want to point out here with the start menu. In Windows 11, this is a visual thing. The start menu is going to be in the center of the screen by default. You can move it to the right or left, but by default, it's going to be in the center. And that is not going to affect where it's located, won't affect how you navigate with JAWS. So it's really just a matter of personal preference. And for us JAWS users, that may not make a difference at all. So also at the start menu, from a visual layout, it has changed as well. It has a simpler layout. You have rows of icons, and there are some changes that I'm going to show you though. But you access it the same way. You can either press tab and move to the start button and press the space bar, or you can press the Windows key, which I'm going to press now. Now, one other thing I want to point out too is that previously in Windows 10, when you went to the start menu and you had the search area that came up, a lot of times you would hear JAWS say Cortana. Cortana is no longer by default available when you go to the start menu here. So you're not going to hear that. So I'm going to press the Windows key.
Search box edit.
All right, so I press Windows key and we have the search box, which is where we could type in the name of a file or some text that is part of a file name. If you're looking for a specific file and you don't remember the whole name, you can type that in here, and you're just going to press down arrow like you normally would to navigate those results. Now I'm going to press the tab key. If we don't want to use the search, if you just want to go into the start menu and look at your apps and things like that, you can just press the Windows key and then tab here.
Pinned recommended. Pinned list box. Microsoft Edge, 1 of 13.
All right, so we have recommended apps here. Now, another difference between Windows 10 and Windows 11, Windows previously had a feature called Timeline, which would show you some apps and activities, things that you were working in. Now this is found in recommended. It shows you some recent documents. It shows you some apps that you've recently, worked in, so that you can use your up and down arrows and navigate through those and easily get to, for example, if it was a document, open a document. So I'll press down arrow here.
Calculator, 7 of 13. Tips, 13 of 13.
Now here it said recommended, but we're actually in the pinned apps area. Now I'll press tab.
Pinned recommended. Recommended list box.
And here we have an area where we have apps pinned. You can choose which apps that you want at the top here. And if that's not something that you use very often, you can just tab right past that. But if we want to navigate that area, we can use our up and down arrow keys. So I'll press down arrow.
Pinned list box. Calculator, 7 of 13. Tips, 13 of 13.
And you can use your right and left arrow keys. So I'll hit left arrow.
Movies and TV, 12 of 13.
And you can hear it say 12 of 13. So that's your pinned area. Now, if I press tab again,
All apps button.
we have an all apps button. So if I want to see a list of all apps, I can press the space bar here.
Space. Search box edit.
And I'm back to the search box. I can tab.
All apps, back button. All apps button.
So here we have an all apps button, and you can go there to see a list of all your apps. I'll keep pressing tab.
Recommended list box. Zoom recently added. 1 of.
All right, so this is an area called recommended. Now, previously in Windows, we had what was called Windows Timeline, and that showed you a list of recent activities or recent apps that you were in. Now in Windows 11, we have something called recommended, and this is what shows you your recently opened apps or your recently used apps, and also documents. And so here, I'm going to have JAWS repeat what it said when we landed on that area.
Zoom recently added. 1 of 4.
So it said Zoom recently added 1 of 4. So that means I installed Zoom recently, and that's 1 of 4 items. If I down arrow.
Uninstall FS Reader 3.0 recently added. 3 of 4.
So we can just navigate this, and it's in a grid, so you can press left and right arrow. If I press left arrow,
JAWS 2022 recently added. 2 of 4.
it goes to the second item in this list. So you can use your down arrow. It depends on how you would like to navigate this. But if you want to go one at a time, you can use your right and left arrows to go forward and backward. So that's the recommended area. Now I'll press tab.
List box. User account for user. 1 of 2.
Here's another area. This is something that is also new in Windows 11. You have 2 things here. You have your user account, which is where you can go to see information about your account with Microsoft account or with Windows, and you can press the right arrow here.
Power. 2 of 2.
And this is the power button. So if you wanted to go in and shut down, or you wanted to go in and change some settings there, you could press enter here and go to that information. So I'll press tab.
Search box edit.
And we're back to the search box. So that is just a few differences there in the start menu with some things that you will encounter and what those things mean.
Freedom Scientific, a Vispero brand. To stay up to date on upcoming webinars and training events, complete the sign-up form at freedomscientific.com/webinars. Thanks again for connecting with us.